Good morning. Welcome to your Thursday morning, early morning intuitive guidance. I'm Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum, America's kick-ass coach and psychologist, here with some words of wisdom. And I just felt moved today that we needed a chapter out of Tosha Silver, Outrageous Openness. So that is going to be our energy for today, but I'd like us to kind of settle into a rhythm here. Good morning, Bonnie. Welcome, welcome. Glad you are here. We have a chapter today out of Tosha Silver's book, and we're just going to settle into a space where we're as open to receiving as we possibly can be. So, if you want to close your eyes, take some nice deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the mouth, and just keep breathing deeply and easily. And as you're probably discovering, since we do this most mornings, as you start that breathing, it already cues your body to relax and to open, to be receptive to whatever the message is for today, etc. Welcome to whomever else just popped on. We're just breathing deeply and easily to open ourselves to receiving today's message, which is an awesome message, I think, on a couple of fronts. One, for people personally, those who are struggling with whatever, and most of us have a struggle of one sort or another, and also in terms of a perspective for our world right now. There's so much chaos, upheaval, disturbance, unrest, etc. But I think this chapter is perfect in terms of describing, good morning, Joe, in terms of describing the process that can occur for a resolution to all of that. So the chapter's called Out of the Cosmic Dumpster. So again, just a couple of nice deep breaths, settling into openness and receptivity, that divine feminine approach to learning, just receiving this information. So, Tosha Silver's Outrageous Openness, the chapter's called Out of the Cosmic Dumpster. There's two quotes at the beginning. The first one is by Buddha. You yourself, as much as anyone in the entire universe, deserve your own love and affection. How good are most of us at sending kind, loving thoughts to others and being our own worst enemy? Time for that to change. Time for that to change. We need to be at least as loving with ourselves as we are with others. At least. Second quote is from Rumi. There is a basket of fresh bread on your head, yet you go door to door asking for crusts. Why are we willing to accept less than? Why are we not open to receiving abundance? And tonight we're going to be doing some work on scarcity stuff. And the thing that captures me all the time with that is the universe does this bang-up job of showing us abundance, and we still come from that little pinched place of scarcity, believing there's not enough to go around. If I have more, someone else has less, all that crap. No, abundance, abundance, abundance. So, here's the chapter. Good morning, Linda. Just settle in and listen as if you're that little kid listening to a story and see what chimes for you here. Out of the Cosmic Dumpster. I went through a harrowing period in the late 80s when my endocrine system crashed and burned. I spent the better part of 3 years, mostly on my back, submerged in deep despair. After a year, Western medicine admitted its inability to heal me and helpfully suggested I find a creative way to make a life from bed. You're still really smart, you know, said my MD at the time, and you're only 30. Couldn't you consider this all a positive new chapter and learn to crochet yoga bags or something? Little did I know that eventually an inspired acupuncturist would arrive out of nowhere to turn the entire situation around. But something happened the month before she appeared. In some ways, I think of it as the event that let her appear. I was living in a tiny studio in a building in the Richmond district of San Francisco. It was a dismal room with a small fridge and a bath, all I could afford. In my state of illness and despondency, I had gone from being surrounded by pristine beauty to barely washing my clothes. Why bother, I would muse. I'm just in this decrepit cave waiting to die. In the building's basement was a dumpster for people's trash. Once a week, I voyaged down with all the empty boxes of Chinese takeout that I had come to subsist on. But one day, the garbage rocked my world. Leaning against the bin was a huge, brand new poster of the Hindu deities Lakshmi, Ganesh, and Saraswati. Now, Lakshmi is the goddess of abundance. Ganesh is that elephant that I show you all the time on the back of the cards. Saraswati I'm not familiar with, but I think I might have to Google that. In all their resplendent, vibrant glory, gold shiny glitter glistened on their lush forms. Well, I had a long history with these guys. They had decorated all of my apartments until I became ill. They were my soul's oldest pals. I carried their pictures in my wallet the way some people do their children. Yet when my life began spiraling into its nightmarish abyss, I had slammed the door of my heart and spat an angry goodbye. Having given many readings to folks who felt abandoned by God, I sure knew about spiritual betrayal. Yet there was the whole beloved cosmic gang, patiently and oddly smiling in my basement, still wrapped in shiny cellophane, waiting. Ganesha's soft, kind eyes drew me like a magnet. Even in my deranged hopelessness, I knew one hell of a sign when I saw it. I had pitched myself into the trash during this dark night of the soul, giving up on any faith that the universe might have an inconceivable plan for me. I'd lost any awareness of myself as sacred or even worthy of aid. I carefully took the poster upstairs and hung it on the bare white wall over my bed. For the first time in months, I thoroughly cleaned the place and lit some sandalwood incense. Then I shuffled down the block to the laundromat, beginning the first of many loads. The next day, I walked across the street to have my hair cut. I told my poor body I was so sorry for its suffering and vowed to be of help. My recovery had begun. And if you notice this, it was an erosion of her faith and trust that the universe had her back. It wasn't just everything fell to crap in one fell swoop. It was over the course of a year, the insidious doubt coming in because Western medicine wasn't helping her. Western medicine wasn't doing the job, okay? And I'm not saying chuck Western medicine, but I am saying oftentimes there needs to be augmentation with other things. Our mind is such a powerful tool or weapon, depending on which direction we turn it. So those people, like when people are diagnosed with cancer and they make that discernment that I need to do everything I can, mind, body, spirit, to improve my odds here, whether it's changing up their diet, whether it's exposing themselves to a lot of humor, whether it's traveling to California to the Simonton Center or something that makes the whole picture shift into wellness instead of just the Western medicine piece of it, makes a huge difference. Our thoughts become things, in the words of Mike Dooley. Our thoughts become things. Which thoughts do you attend to? Wherever you put your energy, that's where things are going to flow. If you want them to flow in a positive, healthy direction, watch your thoughts. And I'm going to cut us a little bit of a break here in terms of the understanding of this. There are structures in our brain that have not evolved yet in terms of seeing everything as dangerous. That had great value way back in the day when we were living in caves and there were saber-toothed tigers. We needed to be aware, able to catch what's changing in our environment, what's not good, what is a risk. Unfortunately, we still have that in there, even though the risks to our corporeal being are not like saber-toothed tigers anymore, right? Most of our risks, our dangers come from stress. It's mostly stress. And it's mostly self-created and culture created stress. So that's what we want to address. So her tootling down to the dumpster with all of her empty fast food containers and finding this poster, again, sometimes the signs are kind of cheesy like that. Again, I go back to my little trick that I do with clients where if someone is really despondent or someone is really stuck and they need the kick in the butt to get moving, I do what I call my next 3 things. So I make a little ritual out of them posing their question to the universe. Why this? How do I fix that? What's gonna, all that, whatever the question is. Do I do this? Do I do that? Pose it to the universe. Then pay attention to the next 3 things that grab your attention. Might be a song on the radio. Good morning, Rosie. Welcome. Glad you are here. Might be a song on the radio. Might be a bumper sticker on a car. Might be a billboard you pass. Might be, a comment, a stray comment that someone makes as you're walking by. Pay attention to those next 3 things. Again, it's cheesy, but it works really well. So I'll give you a couple, and some of you have heard these before, a couple of examples from the past. I was working with a woman who was trying to decide whether or not she was going to leave her marriage for some man she had met on the internet. And she couldn't decide. We had done a bunch of things in session to help her come to a decision. So I posed this as she was about to leave the session. I said, let's do the next 3 things. You go forth. Let's see what you get. 20 minutes later, she left a message on my voicemail. I was in with the next client, but she left a message on my voicemail that said, you're not going to believe what happened. I'm driving down Highway 41 and there's this gigantic billboard that says live, work, and play in Wisconsin. Pretty clear message. I had another person who was trying to make a decision about something similar, driving down the road, doing this process, and was angry with God that the messages weren't clear. I need a clear answer. The clouds parted, the sun shone down, and she's like, okay, I get it. It's really interesting to do this thing, all right? So if you have a question, if there's something you're ruminating on, you can't make a decision, you haven't come to your place. Evening by you. Okay, happy evening. That's good. Must be in Australia or New Zealand or someplace. Maybe. So you just do that. You pose your question. What am I supposed to do about X? How do I resolve Y? What's the best step for me to take next? Whatever question you want to ask. Then go forth. Australia. Awesome. Wonderful. I'm glad you're here. Then go forth and pay attention to those next things that unfold. So I'll give you another one because this one was really funny. So I had a friend who was trying to decide what to do career-wise. Her husband was pushing her to go back out of a commissioned position, which she had really been working hard to make a go of, and back into being a teller at the bank. She had been a teller for many years. She didn't want to go back to being a teller. That wasn't her path. She could feel it, but she was getting the marital pressure to do so. So we did this little game, and then we went to lunch. And as we're at lunch, I could tell she was pushing it. She was trying to make it happen in terms of her answers coming to her. So she was like, surveying the whole scene. Where's my answer? That, again, is sort of the divine masculine approach run amok. This is more about the divine feminine approach, receiving. So instead of pursuing, you receive. Instead of making it happen, you open, you invite it in. You become that tractor beam that draws in your answers, all right? So we're getting to the end of lunch. She had worked really hard to try to make it happen, and of course it didn't. And so she said, well, I don't feel like this worked very well. We're walking toward the door, and there's 2 young women sitting there at a table right by the door, dressed very nicely, business suits, etc. And as we walked out the door, the one said to the other, there's no money in banking. We walked outside, busted out laughing, giggled all the way back to my office. The next week, an opportunity presented itself to her for career change. She's been in that position, oh man, that must be 20 years now, close to 20, I would think. It has worked out amazingly financially for her. emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, the whole thing unfolded in divine right order. Kind of the same as this story I just shared from Tosha Silver. When the timing was right, the message came through. She appreciated it, heard it, acted upon it, and dug herself out of a pretty significant hole. So, for you, if you would like to, I encourage you to use that process. Open yourself to receiving. Okay, I have faith. Even if you feel like it's wobbly faith, I have faith that my answers are out there, my guidance is out there. Sometimes that guidance will be, you need to wait a little longer. That doesn't usually please us too much. But if that's what the guidance is, please do your best. Good morning, Rebecca. Glad you're here. Please do your best to heed that guidance. If the guidance is, it's not quite time yet, please wait. Bide your time. Answers are coming. Even if you don't like hearing that, honor it as best you can. Honor it as best you can. Because when we step in and try to make stuff happen, we muck it up. All right? And I just had one of those recently where my subconscious mind was really wanting an answer to something and was trying to make something fit in the puzzle. Almost like I had the piece of the puzzle in my hand and I was cutting edges off to try to make it fit. Caught that, didn't do that thing, and I'm sure the divine unfolding will take care of what's next. What's next? So, that's your mission for today. Developing that faith and trust, posing your questions, listening carefully with your non-physical ears to hear the guidance. All right? I'm looking forward to this evening with those of you who are joining me for round number 8 of Lightening Your Load, which is our clutter clearing class. It's going incredibly well, way beyond my expectations. I'm so excited about this. And I've got a couple things perking that might be coming down the wayside in the autumn. We'll see what I move to do. This really feels like this is the summer that I'm meant to not work like a maniac, like typical. So I'm really kind of enjoying just doing a thing or two here and there, doing my early morning intuitive guidance because I love connecting with all of you. And I'm so excited there's a couple of you on here who I have not seen before. Welcome, welcome. Enjoy the group because there oftentimes people will pose questions or comments about things that I've said for the day, and it's kind of fun to get some discussion going back and forth between all of you. Have an awesome day. See you again tomorrow. Remember, we're capable of far more than we think we are. Bye-bye.